Hi guys, and welcome back to Twisted Locker, your definitive horror podcast. Today we're going to be doing another one of my least favourite videos to do, and we've got a worst of, and we're going down to the zombie genre, and we're going to have the worst zombie movies ever made. Now, quick disclaimer with this one, the two that I've got aren't the worst zombie movies ever made. I haven't seen all of them, and I know there's worse, but these are two that I've seen that I dislike, but I know there's worse before anyone pops off. Jenks, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, it's actually quite a tough one because there are
Yeah.
so many shit ones, and I don't feel like picking on the ones that are really low budget.
Yeah.
My two are kind of like they should be better, they could be better, and there's no real excuse for the shoddiness, you know.
Yeah.
So my first pick, I would say, is the worst zombie film ever made. Leave a comment if you disagree, but it's House of the Dead. 2003 came out in Britain 2004. Actually came out after Dawn of the Dead. Now, I don't know whether that was because for marketing reasons, they thought they might be able to sell better after the success of Dawn of the Dead and Shaun of the Dead. But it is absolute horseshit. It's based on the video game. I've never played. I think I might have played in the arcade, but it's
Yeah.
just a shoot 'em up. It hasn't really got a massive plot. It's set on this island called Island of Death, right? Right? Isla del Morte, right? Which translates roughly as Isle of the Dead. And there's a rave there, and it's the rave of the century, okay? Right? It's about two speakers, a DJ, and about 5 people like that. Right? The rave of the century now. Not like Glastonbury now. This is literally like your father's garden and a barbecue. It's so shit, right? And these people, I can't remember now. I haven't seen it for years, but they missed their boat over, so they're running late, and their friends are over there, and they can't get across. And they ask his old fisherman, "Will you take us to Isle of the Dead?" And he's like, "I don't sail down there. It's too dangerous. Come on, we'll give you $1,000. We're not missing this. This is the rave of the century." So shit, right? It's and they get over there. Everyone's being killed by zombies, and the zombies are just so fucking shit, right? I haven't seen this for a long time, right? But I'm sure the zombies can swim because they're in the water at one point, and the zombies again. I'm thinking, oh, okay, you could argue that they still remember how to swim from
Yeah.
when they were alive, but it's just like I can imagine like a zombie, doing that backstroke.
Hey, haven't you seen Lucio Fulci's Zombie?
Oh yeah, but at least he's in the water. He's down, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
underwater. He's
yeah.
not doing fucking backstroke with
Backstroke.
with a swimming cap
Doggy
on,
paddle.
fucking armbands on. Yeah, he spends $1,000 to go over to this fucking island, and there is a house in it at one point. I think the makers thought, "Oh fuck, it's called House of the Dead." Quick, get a fucking house. And there's this like mad scientist, half a zombie. He's been living for centuries, Spanish guy, and he's invented some serum to raise the dead and to I can't even be asked to explain the plot. It's crap, right? It is absolute shit. It makes Resident Evil fucking 6 seem like Schindler's List. It's fucking crap, right? Yeah, it's shit. I can't say any more than that. Have you seen it, Curtis? And I would recommend it because it's got 3% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I have
Yeah.
seen it. I can't remember much about it. I remember it coming out, and I was that perfect age where I was excited to see it because
Yeah.
I loved House of the Dead. I smashed those games in the arcade, and I had them on my Xbox. I couldn't wait. Massively disappointed. Not a very faithful adaptation by the sounds of it.
I think I remember the game, and all the zombies had like jeans on, didn't they?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
The
just
jeans
had
on and shit,
jeans.
yeah.
Yeah, all that died with jeans on.
They are-
Or as they died, quick,
Thanks.
get your
It
jeans
was
on.
the it was the 90s, boy. Jeans were in massively. Jeans were all the rage.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's your choice then, boy?
Right, it's nowhere near as bad as House of the Dead. I'll say that. Like I said at the start, the two that I have, they're not the worst movies ever made. They're just ones that I've seen a fair few times, and I've seen them enough times to have a good opinion on them and to actually
Yep.
speak for them. There's so
Yeah.
many ones. But my first one, I've got Jake West's Doghouse, starring Danny Dyer, Noel Clarke, Stephen Graham, and Neil Maskell. Um, some of the biggest hitters in British history.
I
Like
know.
these guys have been in
Steve,
consistently great films.
Stephen Graham.
Danny Dyer's done some great stuff. The cast in this movie is great, right? And it's got everything there to make it a great film.
Yeah.
Basic plot: you got a group of guys trying to help their friend get over a divorce, and they're all kind of in the doghouse, like the title suggests. But basically, they end up in this remote village filled with men hating female zombies. So the plot of the movie is, right, you've got a group of guys who run away from their wives, and then they end up in a village full of men eating zombies that they get a beat up on. So they get to take all their frustrations out now on these female zombies. It would not be made today. I think there's even one scene where they discover that the virus is in washing powder, and that's how only women have got infected.
Curtis,
Um,
you're selling this too well. This is meant to be a shit film. This sounds awesome.
Look, it's a decent slice of harmless fun, and it's very British. But when we have movies like Shaun of the Dead, the standard needs to be higher, and
Yeah.
specifically because it came out after Shaun of the Dead. And like Shaun, you've got the genre blend of horror and comedy, but it falls into those usual tropes and doesn't offer anything new to the genre whatsoever. And like I said, the cast is great in this one. You've got some really big names, uh, but it does mean that the film is overcrowded and not one of them really gets their chance to shine.
Yeah.
Now, when it came out, again, I was quite young, and I quite enjoyed it when I first seen it, and I was really into Danny Day and Stephen Graham and Noel Clarke, all these films. They were like really up and coming British actors that I was starting to get into. So I quite enjoyed it, but obviously at the time I knew it wasn't anywhere near as good as Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of where it falls flat, because you are going to compare these movies because they are similar. They're both British and they both got that blend of horror and comedy. But it's just filled with silly one-liners. The comedy isn't clever at all. It feels like it was written by a youngster.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of cheesy puns and a lot of silliness in it. The gore is quite good, but overall, it's a bit of a stupid film, and it's not one that will really look. If you're looking for a bit of fun and something easy to watch, it's a decent film, but it's very forgetful and
Yeah.
not one I've gone back to since the early 2000s, to
Yeah.
be honest.
I've seen it. I hated it. It's just shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
have
crap.
never watched it again. Yeah. Right. My last pick is probably it's not as bad as House of the Dead, but it could be more disappointing. It's George A. Romero, who is easily the godfather of zombies. He kind of invented the modern zombie, and it's Diary of the Dead. It came out 2007, and I liked Land of the Dead. It's got loads of problems, but I do go back to it because it's got really good makeup, zombie makeup, but it's plenty of flaws, and we could talk about it another time. But it is a decent film. This one came out quite quick after it, maybe only about 2 years later, I think, and it's fucking awful. It's a found footage movie. It's back to the start of the virus, which initially I thought, oh, I love found footage. I love going back to the start of the virus. I love when you see society gradually break down when they see the
Yes.
first few kills. I prefer that to actually a dystopian future, like sort of zombies have already taken over. But it is awful. You've got a woman narrating at the start saying, "We made this documentary, and for dramatic reasons or something, we're going to add music." It's like, what the? It's as if George Romero has never seen a found footage film. It
That's a
reminds.
cop out. That is to add tension with music. That's an
I know.
absolute cop out.
That's the great thing about found footage. You don't know when the horror's coming because there's no music to guide you.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
it reminded me of your granddad getting on TikTok. He's heard, like, as if George Romero heard about found footage. Oh, it's a youngster thing, and I'll give it a crack. And he's too fucking old to understand how it works. It's awful. And do you know the problem with? I got nothing against slow zombies. I do prefer fast ones, okay, but I don't mind slow ones. But because it's the start of the virus, nobody is grotesque. There's no like rotten bodies. everybody looks human and they're dead. You're fucking yawning.
Oh, bored.
So, fucking cheeky bastard. I listened to your fucking Doghouse, man.
That was
Yeah.
a genuine yawn.
So, like, the zombies, there's no makeup involved. It's just, I think maybe the eyes are a bit grey, but they're just not scary when a bloke just looks like a bloke and he's walking slow. You know, yes, then zombies, rotten zombies are still slow, but at least they're frightening looking, they're just
Yeah,
rotten and
yeah, of course.
terrifying. I think the only bit that was a little bit unsettling and stood out is when the soldier kind of interrogate or steals their equipment, and he's quite sinister. And that's the only thing that stood out, but it was really fucking bad, and I was gutted. And it was one of his last ever films, and he is the godfather of zombies, and it's a sad one, But yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never actually seen Day of the Dead. I'm also a massive fan of found footage, but it's not one that really appealed to me when it came out. And obviously, by the time I went to see it, it had been absolutely
Yeah,
slated. And then I just couldn't be bothered to watch it. I'm such a big fan of George Romero. I just don't want to watch anything I know is bad.
yeah,
Um, which leads me to my next point. I have got a George Romero film on here, one that I have seen, and I think it is his last movie.
yeah,
We've got Survival of the Dead, which was released in 2009. And basic plot, we follow a group of people on an island off the coast of North America who are basically trying to survive in the midst of the zombie apocalypse. And the island is divided by two feuding families. They've both got different ideas of what they want to do with the zombies. One of them wants to destroy them, and the other one wants to kind of train them to behave normally. And he's got them working on the farm and things like that. And that's like the basic plot of the movie. Is it's a very character driven movie where you've got these two feuding families. Now that sounds great, and I really like the idea, and I love that they're going for something different. This is unlike anything he's done before, but unfortunately, it's absolutely turd. And same as you with Diary of the Dead, right? I was so upset watching this because I thought, oh my god, like the heights this guy came from to where he ended
yeah,
up, and I know he's old at this point, right? And people do decline and
mm,
quality declines, as similar as to why Tarantino wants to end on his next movie, because he knows every director is going to end up in that place
yeah,
where they're going to do that one final bad movie. And out of respect for George Romero, I had to wear this t-shirt today of his best film, Creepshow. But this one is just awful. It's soulless and lifeless. The pacing is off on this one as well. It's got massive pacing issues. It's very slow in parts. And like I said, it's supposed to be like this character study of this feuding family, but everyone's got boring arcs, and you don't
yeah,
you don't get behind any of the characters because they're just boring.
yeah,
And this movie, right, it's come out like 30 years after some of his like original, 30, 40 years after his originals, with absolutely top tier special effects. And somehow they're 10 times worse in this
mm,
film. Now, obviously, there's probably budget issues. He probably couldn't get a lot of money for this movie, but it just feels cheap and nasty.
yeah,
I've watched it once. I can't say too much about the film. I don't remember that much about it because I watched it once when it came out. I think I got hold of it on DVD cheap, and I thought I'd give
yeah,
it a go. But yeah, like you said with Diary, this one really hurts
yeah.
because of the heights of George Romero to where he ended. But
This
this one is probably my least favorite zombie movie because of who made it.
This is I watched it and I hated it, and I don't know whether I hated it more than Survival, but I was already ready for another crap one. Or actually, no, actually, I might have thought, oh, actually, he's because he came out quite quick after it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but it just reminded me of a very basic episode of Walking Dead where they just stumble
Oh,
upon some
definitely.
farm or something, and that's not, and that would be perfectly fine as a Walking Dead episode, one that's just like somewhere in the middle of the season. But
Yeah.
but you're right, like, Walking Dead does much better effects, and it's, you got a TV budget. You got Greg Nicotero, your favorite man, working on Walking
Yeah,
Dead.
exactly.
I don't know who's working on Survival, but
It weren't
it was
Tom Savini.
nah, shit. Yeah, yeah, good pick,
Yeah.
good pick.
There we are then, guys. That's all we got time for. Catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.